So the ingredients for the meatloaf. There's kind of two parts to cooking this, so I'll run through the ingredients for the first part. We've got 70 grams of bread, 120 grams of milk, a few sprigs of fresh parsley, 1 egg, 1 red onion and 1 brown onion, a glug of olive oil, salt and pepper. This is dried oregano, and then I've got some red peppers here. They're dried red peppers. I don't know what to use those for, so I put them in this last time I made it, and they made it just have a really nice flavour. So you don't need them, but if you've got some random herbs in your cupboard, you should always try them in different things. Then the main ingredients is 400 grams of beef mince and then 450 grams of pork mince. This glaze is taken from the Louise Fulton Keats cookbook, and it's fantastic. I highly recommend sticking to this glaze. Basically, it's 60 grams of stock of some description. This is just the Thermomix vegetable stock. 20 grams of tomato paste, a tablespoon of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of sugar or honey. I'm going to use honey. 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. So that's the second cooking process, but we'll get to that in a minute. We make that while the rest of the meatloaf is in for the first half of its cooking process. Okay, the first thing that we're doing is we've put the 70 grams of day-old bread into the Thermomix. I just chopped it up a little bit. We're going to make breadcrumbs. 8 seconds, speed 10. I've just picked a little bit from the garden, put that in, and then I've got 1 brown onion. It's quite large, so I might just cut it into quarters. 6 seconds, speed 5. So we've got the parsley and the onion chopped in the bowl. That looks like it's a nice fine chop. We're now basically just going to add everything else in. So the breadcrumbs, beef, pork, egg, 1 teaspoon of oregano, good pinch of salt, 20 grams of olive oil, a little bit of this red dried pepper, and some brown black pepper. We'll just add the milk, 120 grams. This makes the meat mix very, very soft. So the kneading function has incorporated everything in really nicely together, and it'll be really nice and soft. I've lined a baking tray with some silver foil, and then you line it with some baking paper. But as you can see here through my one-handed efforts, I've actually wet down the baking paper, and that just makes it much more malleable. I just have turned the meat mixture out into the tray, and then I'm putting the sliced red onion across the top. We're going to put this into a 180-degree preheated oven. While we're cooking this in the oven, we're going to make the glaze. But what we need is 60 grams of made up stock. I just use the Thermomix stock. It doesn't matter if it's beef or vegetable. 20 grams of tomato paste, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of honey. You can use sugar, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, and 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. So once we've got all the ingredients in, we're going to cook it for 14 minutes, 100 degrees, speed 2.5. And we're going to leave the measuring cup off. I would recommend steaming some greens in the varoma above the Thermomix while you're making the glaze. So we've done most of the heavy lifting for this dish. Here's the glaze that's been cooking for 14 minutes. I'm basically now just going to tip this over the top of the meatloaf. This has been cooking for half an hour already. We're going to pour the glaze over the meatloaf. So I'll just go up and back a couple of times. It smells really, really good. Now, the glaze is very potent, but it tastes delicious. It's really amazing. You're gonna love it. Okay, so the glaze is in. While I was making the glaze, you saw that I steamed some vegetables, and then earlier I also steamed some vegetables. So there's about 15-20 minutes left of cooking time. So I'm just going to put these on a tray, put this back in the oven, and then we'll have dinner ready. So this is how the meatloaf turned out. It's really glossy and shiny. There's lots of sauce to go with it, and I've got a couple of roast veggies on the side, as you can see. Meatloaf looks really good. Okay, we're ready for dinner. If you like our videos, subscribe to us on 3 Mad Mixers on YouTube. Also check us out on Facebook and Instagram too,